All right. So again, going to chat about factoring, help sheet, and exponents from our last quiz here to kind of get you on the up and up. So we're going to start at number 1. When, first things first. Now see, my sheet here doesn't have what we wrote on it yesterday, so I'm going to do that again here. First thing, every single time we are doing a factoring problem, common terms, which will now be referred to moving forward as the golden rule. Every problem you want to check first to see, is there something that all my terms have in common I can take out to make it easier? Well here, n, that doesn't have an n. Okay? And dividing out by 1 really doesn't help me. So I look and I'm like, okay, so I've got 3 terms. All right, let's see here. Lead coefficient of 1, yes, there's no number in front of my n squared. So we're going to look at it like we would a diamond problem. Okay. Which are the ones that we multiply to get the number on the end and add to get the number in the middle. And we chatted a little bit about some things we could have to help us out here. Now, I did have a good suggestion, bless you, later in the day, because I talked with you yesterday about, hey, we can figure out our signs ahead of time. Okay, if it's a negative multiply number, we're going to have one of each sign. So I'm trying to figure out 2 numbers that are going to multiply to -6, but are going to add up to -1. So I may start thinking, and I go, okay, well, 2 times 3 is 6. Hey, and they're like 1 apart. But then here's the question. Which one of the 2 options do I want? Which one of those 2 pairs is going to add up to -1? This one, because I want the bigger number to be negative. And that was a suggestion, and a very good one, that was brought to me yesterday afternoon. They're like, hey, instead of just making this 6 and trying to figure out the numbers, why don't we just put the actual different options here in front of me so I don't have to play all these games, and I just add them up until I get one's -1. I said, that's an excellent idea. So we can go ahead and do that. Okay. Now, sometimes we may not even have to do that much work. Let's say we go to number 4. So I look at that and I go, okay, do those 2 terms have anything in common? B. So, B comes out. Let's see what we got left over to put inside. I got 1 B, I need 2, so I need another B. I already got the B here, but I need the -6. And again, like we said yesterday, if I factor, and when I look in the parentheses, there's no squared left here, I'm not going to be able to go any further. That's as far as I'm going to be able to make it before I'm to the end. So, let's see here. Go a little further. Oh, okay. So I come down, let's say, to number 7. All right. Should I just go ahead and slide and divide right away? Oh, no, wait. Anything in common on number 7? 5. I can divide 5 into all of those. And we talked yesterday as well. If you're not sure on that, here's the best way to kind of do that using your chart. So I see 5, 15, and 10. If I pull out my chart, and I start looking around to where I might see all 3 of those numbers in a column like I do here, just go to the top of that column. That's the number they all have in common. That's the number I'm going to pull out. Not a bad option. So here I've already got the 5. I need x squared. 5 times what gets me to 15? That's 3. Don't lose your x. And 5 times what gets me to 10? Now, this one, though, is a little bit different than number 4 was a minute ago. This one didn't have a squared. This one does. This one, we at least have to try to factor it before we get too far. So, let's see. No number in front of the x squared. So, it's a multiply and add. Bless you. So, I start to peek and I go, multiplies to a positive. one of two things. They're either both positive or they're both negative, because that's the only way I can get a positive product. So how do I figure it out? I look at the sign in the middle. So since it's negative, these will both be negative. Multiply to 2, well, there's not many choices there. So it's got to be negative 2 and negative 1. Adds up to negative 3. Negative times negative is positive. And we're good. Okay, so we've got several things that are in motion here. But really when it comes down to it, we just got to follow a simple pattern and we can get ourselves in pretty good. All right, let's crank it up a little. Right below there, number 9. First things first, we're going to get this down. Do all three of those terms, 5x squared, 24x, and 27, have anything that all three of them have in common? No. Okay? So this time, I'm into choices, and I am going to do, how do I want to do this? We're going to do slide and divide on this one. I'm going to save my guess and check for another. Now, if you're going to be a guess and check person, we talked about this yesterday. If you're on the double booking thing, trying to zoom up the math chart, try to do the guess and check. Okay? If not, we talked about how we can do this thing called slide and divide. So we box in that first number. We're going to slide it down to the end. Now, my number's going to get kind of big this time. I'm warning you. But that's what we got the chart and the calculator for. So I get that out. And I'm like, woof, 135. That's no fun. So, I get my parentheses ready. Now, here is where we can split how we decide we want to do this. I'm going to show you the chart and the calculator. They're both going to work. I love options. The more options I have, the more chances I have to find some success. So since I know a lot of you like going to calculators on things, here's what my plan's going to be. I'll make my 135 here. Okay, I know 1 and 135. Okay. So sneak this in here. Try and tone this down a little. That's not totally working, but we'll make it go. And I'm going to start trying to divide some numbers in. Now, if I get decimals, that doesn't help me. So I'm like 3 and 45. 3 and 45. No, that's still, no. 27 and 5. No. And so I'm going to keep playing. And yes, believe it or not, this will actually at some point work. Stick with me. 9 and 15. So I'm saying, okay, now let's start looking here for a minute. Same sign, okay, because it's positive. So they're going to both be negative. So two numbers that add up, negative, to negative 24. Oh, okay, right there, negative 24. Now, again, I was kind of peeking at the clock here as I was doing it. That whole process of doing that like 9 times took me all of like 20 seconds. It's not that bad. But wait, I'm not quite done. Because remember, when we do slide and divide, that number I slid over still has to divide back in. And then I just see 15 divided by 5. That goes in nice. That's 3. But then when I try the 9, let me get this back in here. I get a decimal. We don't do decimals. I do math, enter, I get the same thing back, 9 over 5. So what do? I take that 5, I stick it back in front of my x, and I'm done. Okay? That's one of the ways we took a peek at doing these yesterday. Now, I will mention this, because I said I'd do it on the chart too. Now, this gets a little more interesting. If you got real keen eyes, though, this can work pretty quick. So if you pull up your chart and you start looking around, I'm looking for 135. Now, sometimes that may be obvious. Other times it may not. But like, for instance, okay, here I see 135. If follow it up. There's 9. I follow it left. There's 15. And then I look and see, does it add up to what I need to? Oh, it does. And I can do it that way too. So it just kind of depends on what you want to do. Do you want to search all over a chart? You want to play with a calculator? Your call. Now this other one we're going to do the guess and check with. So we're going to do number 10. So number 10, now again, if you're stuck and you want to do slide and divide, you do slide and divide on this one. But we're going to play the guess and check game. So if we play guess and check, do some side work here. So 2 is 2 and 1. Or I could, if I wanted to, I could say 1 and 2. Now 28, I got some choices. Okay? 28, we could do 7 and 4, or 4 and 7. We could do 2 and 14, or 14 and 2. And I'll show you in a minute why I'm writing them both ways and not just one. And 1 and 28, or 28 and 1. So here's why I'm doing it that way. Because again, our goal is to find a pair that when we're doing it, we can make, with our addition and subtraction, get to that -1 in the middle. Now here's one nice thing. 2 and 1 or 1 and 2 are the same thing. That's going to be left alone. I know with the -28, I'm going to have one positive and one negative. Okay? But when I take my outer and my inner, they're going to add up to -1. So, what I would do, and I'll do it this way, cover those guys up. So I'd kind of start playing, and I'd go, okay, 2 times 7 is 14, 1 times 4 is 4. Is 14 and 4 going to get me to 1? No. All right. So I move to the next one. 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 7 is 7. Can 8 and 7 get me to 1? Ooh, yeah. Okay. So now, 2 and 4 go together. So notice I drew the line in ahead so I knew where it would go. So there's the 4. The 1, my 1x goes with 7. So now I just got to figure out my sign situation. I want the bigger product to be negative. Well, 2 times 4, 8 is bigger than 7. So the negative has to go with my 4. And I'm set. Okay? But again, until you get comfortable with running the multiplication facts through your head, writing something out like this and then just looking at the pairs is going to be your best option. Okay? It's going to be the most helpful to you. So, whether you do slide and divide, whether you do guess and check, you're going to get to the same answer at the end. Okay, if you do it correctly. And that's why we check answers in the key as we go along, to make sure that we're going okay with those. All right, let me see if there's any other screwy ones here, because I don't want to go overkill with me running my mouth too much. Oops, I see something. Okay, so over to the back. We are going to take a look at 2 of these. We're going to take a look at 19 and 22. So 19, I look and I'm like, first, you know what I'm going to ask? Anything in common? No. But then I start looking down my chart, because I only have 2 terms. So 2 terms, binomial. Is it a difference of squares? 4 and 9. Let's see here. Perfect squares, 4 and 9. Now, I might not have mentioned that in here yesterday, so let's get this in. I told people if it would help you to write down, if I'm squaring, what number am I squaring to get each of these values on here? I don't mind if you add that on here. Okay, when I tell you there's certain things we can add, that's fine. It doesn't give you free rein to start adding all sorts of other things here, though, to your help sheet. So again, it just lists off those first from 1 to 12. So as you look at that, because we had 4 and 9, okay, what do I square to get each of those? I square 2 and v to get 4v squared. I square 3 to get 9. So now at this point, because again, I get to use the brown sheet. Look at the pattern. First term, second term, just plus minus in the middle. Okay. First term, second term, first term, second term, plus minus. Oh. It's not bad, not bad, not bad. But the one I want to chat with you on is the one that I consider to be dangerous. 22 is dangerous. Like, why is 22 dangerous? Because especially after we just got done with 19, a lot of you are going to look at 22, you're going to skip the first step, and you're going to go, ooh, wait, 2 steps, 64 and 4. Woo, 64 and 4 are on the list. Here I go. Wait. Do 64 and 4 have anything in common that's divisible into both of them? 4 is. Got to do that first. So, again, we're dividing it in. So if you're not sure what 64 divided by 4 is, just punch it in your calculator. That'd be 16. And 4 divided by 4 is 1. Now what's in the parentheses? Now look and see, hey, are these both perfect squares? Yes, they are. So, what do I square to get 16 and n squared? What do I square to get 1? Make my parentheses here. Same 2 terms in both sets of parentheses. And we just put plus in one and minus in the other. Doesn't matter which order. If you do minus and then plus, it'll still end up the same thing at the end. But again, I always got to watch. Always do that golden rule first. It's going to be very helpful to you in making life easier. And finally, look back. All right. We're going to look at 2 of these. I'm trying to figure out which 2. I think 27 and 29 look like the best candidates. Yes, I think so. All right, exponent rules. First thing, we will never have a negative exponent in an answer. Ever, ever, never, ever. So when we start this, okay, if there are parentheses, deal with that first. Also, what exponent is on a coefficient or a variable if I don't see one? 1. And the reason I mention that is, one of the things that happened when you're on the quiz, people forgot that and they ignored it. You can't ignore that. It messes your whole problem up. So the 27, number 27 here, the first part all stays the same. Here, I'm just going to distribute. And what do we do power to power? Multiply. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Negative times negative is positive. So here's Mr. H's next idea. Once we're done with the parentheses, now I need to take a peek, and I need to start combining things that I can using my exponent rules. Now, for some of you, the best route to go here, this is going to be interesting, I'm going to take up like space all over the place here, would be to flip the negative exponents, because some of you, negatives don't get along with you real well, and that's okay. So let's do that. If it's got a positive exponent, it stays where it's at. So there's a negative. Flip that part down. Notice it's only that part. 2 to the negative 4th flips down. X to the negative 8th flips down. Notice when they flip, they become positive. So now, I get to this part. Get the fraction bar back in here. Okay. I've got my 2's. And what I would probably suggest at this point is going, okay, well, I know what 2 to the first power is. Okay, 2 to the first power is 2. 3 and 8. Okay, we're dividing. What do I do with the exponents when I'm dividing? Subtract. There's my bigger exponent. 8 minus 3 is 5. Answer goes where the bigger exponent is. Y's, same thing. 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom means I'm dividing. 12, the bigger number, minus 1 is 11. That's where that goes. And then this 2 to the 4th that's left, let's punch that up in the calculator here, is 16. Now, not quite done. Almost. 2 over 16, I want to see no decimal. Okay, 1 over 8. So you can either write 1y to the 11th over 8x to the 5th, or you could even just put y to the 11th over 8x to the 5th. But you've got to remember these guys play by different rules than your variable terms do. Okay, we can reduce those. Notice I didn't do 16 minus 2 here. Coefficients are still divide, multiply, whatever it happens to be. And then I forgot already the other one I said we were going to do. Thank you. 29. Here, I don't see any parentheses, but I do see negative exponents, so I'm going to fix that first. The 4 does not have a negative exponent. Okay, that negative 3 is on my x. Leave the 4 alone. X to the negative third, to the bottom to be positive. Y to the negative third, to the bottom to be positive. And both this 3 and this y to the third are positive. So the only thing that's left up top is the 4. That's fine. And I've got a 3 left down here. We'll look at that whole deal in a minute. I only have one term that has an x, so we leave that alone. Because again, to do things, they have to have like bases. Now the y's, on the other hand, okay, we're multiplying the y's with like bases. What do I do to the exponents? Add. 3 plus 3 is 6. Let's double check on our 4 over 3 to make sure that's what it should be. No, we don't do decimals. Nope, still 4 over 3. Okay. And enter. Okay. So your job, got to do the job, is to work through the rest of these. We're still going to be dealing with this whole factoring thing again tomorrow. It is critical moving forward that we get this. So keep pounding away. The answers are up front. Keep working on these. These aren't going away for the next quiz. So keep pounding away at this stuff. Do everything you can. If you get to an answer and it doesn't work, come and ask a question.